Hello, can you hear me? Hey, how are you? Doing alright. Doing alright. The storm here is pretty freaking crazy right now. I don't know where you are, if it's as bad, or if you even have anything, but yeah, knocked out my power, so no Discord for me. Nice. I'm glad it's not as bad. But listen, I know we talk all the time, but since I had no power, I thought, why not, you know, call on the phone like the good old days. Help me pass the time. And if at any point you want to go do your own thing, please don't feel like you're trapped. you can you can go and do whatever you want. Just tell me to shut up and you can go. But I just thought it'd be nice to just chat. I know we play all the time online, but we never really talk about things. So I thought that would be nice to get to do that every once in a while. Yeah. So you been up to anything recently? Do you have any new hobbies or anything like that? I mean, I know you like to play games, but anything else? That's awesome. Yeah, I might have to try, or give it a try. You never know. I'm always open to trying new things, but myself, well, I like to play games, but I've been trying to get back into running. I was into it for a decent amount of time, up until the beginning of winter, because it gets a little cold, and I have trouble running out in the cold. It's harder for me to breathe, so I tend to not run during the winter. I was thinking about doing some rock climbing just to try and stay, active during the winter or when it's too cold. But it's actually starting to get a little nicer out, so, starting to get back into running. But, I still might give it a try, on one of these weekends. Just go to a rock climbing gym and give it a shot. I don't know if they have any, I'm sure they have, classes and stuff, but I'm not exactly sure how it all works. I'd have to take a look into it to see if, they recommend first-time climbers taking, a little course first, or just go and have fun. But, yeah. No one around me, I don't think, does any sort of rock climbing or anything, so probably just, go around and experiment. Would you ever try something like that? Maybe the next time we get the chance to hang out, we can go rock climbing. Yeah, that's fair. Just bringing it back to games for a second. Have you been playing anything good recently? I don't think I've heard of that one. Do you like it? Any good? Might have to give it a shot. Like I said, I'm always down to try new things, even if I don't think I'd like them. Speaking of which, one of the games I started to play a little bit is Supermarket Simulator. I didn't really think I'd like that game at all, but one of my friends started playing it and was streaming it and on Discord, and I was like, I don't know. And then my other friends started playing it, and I'm a bit competitive, so we were at least for a little bit racing to see who could grow their store the most. But since then it's died down just a little bit. But yeah, it's a game I didn't think I would enjoy, but I've gotten a solid at least 20 hours out of it, so I'd say it was worth. You ever heard of Supermarket Simulator? Yeah, there's a lot of the simulator games out now, but yeah, They're always coming out with new, interesting things. Mm. But yeah, other than that, just the usual suspects for me, which is like Counter-Strike, Valorant, League of Legends, Dota, Overwatch a bit, uh, Grand Blue as well, just a little bit, but yeah, I know it's a little weird playing a similar game made by different companies. Basically just, Riot and Valve, but I don't know. I started with one and a lot of my friends play either one or the other, so I feel like nowadays games are really, at least multiplayer games for me, are really just ways to hang out with people online. Just gives us something to do together, which is nice. And those games are very accessible, or they've been around long enough that everyone has them, or has tried them at least. Have you ever tried any of those games? Any like attack shooter like CS or Valorant, or have you played a MOBA like Dota or League? Honestly, that's probably for the best. But recently, other than those, I've been playing Cyberpunk again. I know it's been out for a while. I know I've played it a bunch of times, but I'm a sucker for like a narrative story game. I can't even speak. But yeah, I love narrative focused games. And Cyberpunk also has some decent gameplay to go along with it, but Cyberpunk does a lot that makes it special, at least to me. What playthrough number is this? I think this is 5. Have you ever done a playthrough yourself? Once a while ago. Sounds like it's time for another. Have you played through the new expansion, Phantom Liberty? No? Well, if you get around to it, I would love to see your impressions of it. If you would be so kind to share your gameplay with me. Trust me, I won't find it boring. One of my favorite things to do is, share something with my friends and see how they react, or how, what they think about something that I like. But the most important thing is you have to like it, otherwise I'll be devastated. But in all seriousness, I do enjoy sharing things that I like with my friends just to see how they react and their insights on things. It's fun. Yeah, I guess that's why React channels are so popular. I am not, what's the word? I'm not immune to their charm, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. I have watched a few reactions on certain things. People reacting to Lord of the Rings is one thing that I've watched at least a couple times. But, yeah, I can see why they're so popular. It just kind of gives you that experience of, experiencing it for the first time again, And, when you like something so much, you always want to have that feeling again if you can, find it. Normally that's through someone else's first experience of something. So, yeah, you get it. Why do I like Cyberpunk so much? At least, why do I like it enough for 5+ playthroughs? How much time you got? Alright, I'll go into it. But please, again, feel free to tell me to be quiet, move on, or, tell me you gotta go. I don't want you to feel like you're stuck here in this conversation. But let's get into it, shall we? Like I said earlier, I'm a big fan of like narrative games, story games. I mean, it doesn't have to be all story, but a game that has a good story, a good narrative. I tend to enjoy those more. Don't get me wrong, gameplay is important. I do like gameplay, and I play some games that are basically just gameplay. But the ones that tend to leave a lasting impression tend to be the ones with a strong narrative attached to it. So like a game like Path of Exile, like, there is like a narrative, there is lore to it, but it's not something that I personally pay a lot of attention to. But for Cyberpunk, that's obviously very different. It's on the forefront of it. How about you? Do you like games with a heavy focus on like narrative, or do you prefer games that don't really have that and you just kind of care about the gameplay, or you kind of like me where you like both? Yeah, that's fair. I get it. I get it. Trust me. Like I said, I like all types of games, and I think I have way more hours in Path of Exile than I do Cyberpunk at this point. But you know, you get, at least for me, I get an itch to play both type of games. So I get it. But another thing that I enjoy, and the reason why I probably like narrative games so much, is that I do enjoy immersion, like being immersed in a world. Obviously, not only for video games, but books and movies and TV shows as well. Which is probably why I enjoy Lord of the Rings so much, is that I'm able to get so immersed into it. But Cyberpunk does a good job with the immersion as well, and I think that's one of the main factors of what keeps me coming back, along with how it goes hand in hand with the storytelling and narrative. It just does a lot of really small things right that I haven't really seen in a game before. I'll start nice and light, but just kind of like one of the smaller things that I kind of noticed that I think is pretty cool. It's the music and the loading screens. So, at least the radio station I listen to, I forgot the name of the channel number, but I think it's 92.7. It's the one that Sasha Gray's character voices. But any other radio stations that have like a radio host is kind of cool, because it kind of like real life, you get radio hosts. It kind of just makes things seem a little bit more real than just like music playing. Kind of like, well, I guess I don't really know. I didn't play, or I haven't played the GTA 5 campaign in a long time. But having like a radio station that feels like an actual radio station is cool. But on top of that, it's also like you get news snippets about things that are going on in the world, right? So you'll go on a mission and there'll be a report on what happened. It's just stuff like that, like very small details that by itself it's not like an amazing thing, but on top of a couple of the things that I'll go into, it's pretty neat. I don't know if you've experienced that in your playthrough, or ever thought the same thing, or have experienced it in any other games, but I thought it was pretty neat. Yeah, exactly. But one of the next things I wanted to talk about, I feel like I'm giving a TED talk or something. One of the next things I wanted to talk about are the NPCs and the characters and the relationships you kind of have with them. I think it's kind of cool, first of all, that if you don't choose to interact with the characters, you can just neglect all of it. These stories are very in depth, and I think they're very unique, each one of them, and each of the NPCs. And I think it's pretty cool that most of them are problems that you would expect that you would have in a dystopian cyberpunk city. But yeah, I think it's cool that you can have the option, or even have the possibility, of not interacting with a certain NPC to a certain extent, or at all. I do like having that that decision to make. I like having it be non-linear in the way it's you have to meet this NPC, you have to do this mission, you have to do this, and you can go through the whole game and just not interact with this one NPC that you might end up loving if you end up doing their content. It's one of the things I really like about Baldur's Gate, another game I've been enjoying recently, actually. Or I have enjoyed. I haven't gotten back to playing another playthrough of it, but I should soon. But that's besides the point. I like it when games give you the option to engage in content that is meaningful. They put a lot of time and effort, and it is great. But I like them giving you the choice to interact with it. And it makes it feel more special that way, if you know what I mean. Yeah. What about Baldur's Gate? Have you ever played Baldur's Gate? Interesting. That one's multiplayer. We might have to do that one together. But I digress. I think the NPCs are fantastic in this game. I think some of them are more fleshed out than others. But I think that's kind of like by design. Because I think, for example, Panam, I think she's my favorite. I'm biased, but I think she feels like the most fleshed out because she is. She is a romanceable NPC, which makes it, obvious that they're going to spend more time on her. But also, she offers one of the endings. And you get introduced to her pretty early on in the game. So, in some aspects, you're kind of forced to interact with her because of the main story. But, also if you continue to interact with her, then also she gives you one of the endings, which is cool. And then Judy is like the next in line, just because she is, I think, like one of the first main like NPCs that you meet, because of the heist in Evelyn and all that. And I guess Evelyn is kind of like one of the first NPCs you meet, also, with Jackie and T-Bug, but, after the prologue, that is. Which, by the way, the prologue is pretty insane. Like, when, when Dex kills you the first time, and the, title pops up, I'm like, wow, what an intro. I don't know if you were as surprised about that as I was, but goddamn, that was one hell of an intro. Did you see that coming? Yeah, me neither. I had no clue. I was like, when is Keanu Reeves showing up? I had no idea. No idea. But yeah, like the other NPCs, they're all great. They all have their own moments. I think, like Carrie and Rogue kind of do a similar thing where they kind of try and use them to connect to V and Johnny. And I believe Carrie is also one of the romanceable NPCs. However, I've never done it in one of my playthroughs, so I don't know how more involved he gets. Because, a little spoilers, depending on how many, or which ending you got, but one of the cool things that I thought the game does is that when I played a female V in my last game, and I romanced Judy, but I chose like the Pan Am ending, and Judy shows up. Normally, Judy at a certain point leaves Night City, never to return. So I was really curious to see if you romance Judy, one, if she stays, and two, if you choose Pan Am's ending, what does that look like for Judy? Does she just, get angry and because you don't tell her, or does she come along and, to my surprise, she was there? So again, like another like small thing, like attention to detail, like continuity throughout like your choices and your playthrough and how they matter. I think that's pretty important, at least for me. Did you romance anybody in your first playthrough, or did you just keep it strictly business? Interesting. Fair enough. Everyone in the game is, amazing, so you really can't go wrong. Oh yeah, there was another thing, kind of like that I was wondering about. At one of the main like events in Phantom Liberty, you go to like a big party. I'm trying not to spoil too much of it for you because you've never played it. But there are two NPCs that you can meet in the base game that go there, and on my first playthrough, I only really interacted with one of them before going to the party, but they recognized me and we had this whole dialogue about, what happened and, what are you doing here and all that kind of stuff. So I am interested in my next playthrough, or my current playthrough that I'm doing right now. I'm trying to do more of the base game before heading into the expansion. So I'm curious to see, what the other NPCs say at the party before you go there. Or I'm curious to see what they say at the party if you do all the stuff before you go there. It's kind of cool because you also get to see a couple other notable NPCs there as well, but I don't want to get too much into it because you haven't done it yet. So, and that kind of leads me into my next topic, which is, choices in Cyberpunk. Kind of like the ones I mentioned earlier that have like an overarching, long-lasting effect on your game. The one like, romancing Judy and then choosing the Pan Am ending, and then, at the end of the game, it changes how things play out a little bit. But even the ones when you make inside a mission that just kind of change things for that mission and then, don't really matter after that. Like the one where you storm the Maelstrom hideout in like the very beginning of the game to get the Flathead. I don't know what you chose, but when you talk to Brick the first time and you try and get the Flathead, if you choose to give him the creds, you can walk out of there free. If you don't choose to not kill him right then and there, but you still take the Flathead by force, he, doesn't appear until the end of the level, and he's in like a power suit thing. And you have to fight him there, but if you choose to fight him, immediately, then he doesn't have that, and you fight him in that area specifically. And it just changes the encounter just a bit, which I think is cool. I like I said, all the small details I think make the game pretty special. But then also, you can choose to save the former leader of that Maelstrom group, and you'll meet him later in a different quest if you choose to save him. But yeah, going back to choosing like that quick time event thing for just a second, I think they do a good job of that, a good job of creating tension, especially in that quest, because you like walk through the whole base first. You see all of the enemies, and they're all eyeballing you the whole way until you get like into the heart of the place, and then making that decision becomes so much harder because it's not like, you say no and you walk away, or you say screw you and walk away. Like you say screw you and you're in there. You gotta fight your way out, and the first time you do it, it's very like, it's very nerve-wracking. It's a lot of pressure, a lot of tension. You don't know which way things are gonna go. I mean, after you do it like 4 or 5 times, a little bit less so, but they do a good job of that throughout the game. It's kind of like a common theme. Maybe not to that extent, but maybe that one sticks out so much in my mind because it's the first time that ever happens. But I've noticed, that kind of formula throughout the game where, you walk into, a big den of guys, and then you make a decision, and then, you can choose, the peaceful route, or, to break bread, or you can choose the path of most resistance, and then, fight your way out. But yeah, I always liked how that kind of plays out most of the time. But to bring it back to the tension, feeling in that moment, I think one of the things that is kind of cool about Cyberpunk, and also this pertains to the DLC as well, are like the unreliable narrators. Like a lot of the NPCs that you deal with, either aren't telling you everything, or they have some ulterior motive, or they, you think they have an ulterior motive, or you're led to believe that. So you can't really take anything anyone has to say at face value, which I think is kind of cool. Again, kind of goes back to that thought that I said earlier of like things not being very linear. Like it's not like, oh, this person says this, so I gotta go do this. Like this person says this, but what does that mean? Does that mean this? Like at the end of the day, when this person has to make a decision, are they gonna make the decision I want, or what are they gonna do? So between all of the players, I guess I'll stick to the main game for your sake, but like Hanako, Takamura, Johnny, Alt, pretty much like every NPC you meet, like the Voodoo Boys too, when you first meet them, you don't really know what anyone wants. You kind of feel like you're you're fighting for your life. I think that's really cool, and you don't feel like you're a god necessarily, at least not the first time I played it. So it's very cool to be like, oh, like this person could really screw me over. I don't know if I trust them. I don't know how to act, but yeah, I just feel like not being able to trust someone 100% is very accurate on that type of setting. So I think that's kind of cool. And just to go back again, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place now, but about the choices, like you can choose to not save Takamura or choose to save him. Initially, in my first playthrough, I think I saved him by accident because you're led to go out one way and like kind of abandon him, but you can choose to turn around and go and up and back to help him. And I just happened to do that in my first playthrough because I just got lost, so I ended up doing that anyway. But it's kind of cool to see, when you do save him, like how things change. But if you didn't do that, you should, or if you did do that, you shouldn't, just to see how things change. Sorry, I'm getting kind of rambly now, but what do you think? If anything, I know I'm not really leaving a lot of time to respond. I kind of just ramble on. And again, feel free to go do your own thing at any point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, let me get your thoughts on this. What do you think about having quests where, you know, you have to give an NPC some time to do work, and, you have to wait to do their quest? I guess you can just kind of use the in-game wait system to just wait, and then, you don't, in real life, you're not really waiting at all, but, technically in-game, if you're being, you know, stingy about it, being a stickler for immersion, you're technically waiting. But what do you think about, having missions that make you wait? Do you really care? As long as there's like a wait function, or... Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. For me, I think it's a pretty neat idea to have, especially, because you can choose to just wait in game if you want, but it kind of gives you the chance to do other things, because there's a lot of things to do. There are a lot of things to do in Cyberpunk in terms of like missions and gigs and all that other stuff. There is a lot to do, so you can go do other stuff. But I also get, the the want, the need to just see something through to fruition. So it's like I want to keep doing this quest. I want to know what happens. I get that too, but I enjoy, going off and doing other stuff, and getting messages and phone calls when things are ready, and it and kind of makes sense in terms of like immersion's sake. If someone needs to go off and research this thing and then they'll get back to you, I mean it makes sense. Okay, sorry. Again, gonna ask you about this. What do you think about when the NPCs give you a phone call or a text when, something happens and they text you after, or, when they're done researching or whatever they're going to do and they give you a call letting you know it's time to get going? Did you ever think about that? Do you have any thoughts on that at all? Am I just a big nerd who likes the small things? You could say yes to multiple of those questions. What the heck? I didn't think you'd actually say it. But yes, I am a big nerd. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy that a lot, actually. And like I said in the beginning, it's all the small things that come together that really make it special for me. Funny enough, in the game Star Wars: The Old Republic, the Star Wars MMO, doing side quests and like even like the main story quests, you'll save like NPCs or you talk to NPCs, and they'll go off and do their thing, and sometimes you'll never see them again, but they'll send you like mail, kind of giving you that resolution, that like closure from doing that quest, and getting that closure after you send them off, and like, oh, I'm doing this now. Like, it's such a small thing, but I don't know why I enjoy it so much. So like in Cyberpunk, when you get little message like, oh hey, like this happened and because of something or you know what I mean. Like you get the messages, and it just provides some nice like dialogue of what happened or what's going to happen. It's not like, okay, we do this quest. This person is gonna talk to you when you're ready. It's like, okay, all right, the quest is ready, done. Moving on to the next thing. I don't know. It just provides more of a smooth transition between like each mission. It kind of gives that like a nice flow. I don't know. Again, I'm a big nerd. I get it. But that kind of stuff is is interesting to me. It makes it more of an enjoyable experience, more immersive experience. Which, again, big nerd. Love that kind of thing. Sorry, I feel like I'm kind of rapid firing questions at you now, but this one I feel like is an interesting topic to talk about. What do you think about the use of like their own slang in game? Like they say choom, they say preem, uh, gonk. Like, do you ever think about that and how like that? Did you first hear that and be like, what the hell? What is this? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had pretty much the same thought when I first heard it. At first, I was kind of like, what? But it's kind of interesting because as I played it, I kind of like it didn't feel so out of place that I'm like, this is the weirdest thing ever. I don't know why anyone would say this. Like anytime they say it, it completely takes me out of it now. For me, like it fits. I don't know. I feel like that's not an easy thing to do, but it fits. It doesn't now. Like when I hear it, I'm like, oh, okay, like it's just part of their vocabulary. But yeah, I always thought that was interesting, like adding your own like slang in 55 years or whenever, um, whenever the game came out. But it's not an easy thing to do. Oh my god, can't believe it's been already a half an hour. I still got a couple more things on my mind, but I'll try and make it quick. Um, the next thing I was gonna say is that the game is gorgeous, especially if you download mods. But even without the mods, the game is gorgeous. Just driving around, like the cityscape, just the ambiance. Just driving around is amazing. Like just pop on a radio station, drive around, just get lost in it. Very immersive, very pleasing. Uh, just to touch over quickly, I guess, is the voice acting. People say generally that they like the female V over the male V. I like both. I think they're both great. Um, there's not really any point that it's like so bad that it takes me out, at all. Other than maybe a couple times Keanu Reeves doesn't deliver his lines perfectly, but I respect the hell out of him for you know actually recording his own lines. They got him back for Phantom Liberty, and I thought that maybe he would only have a couple lines here and there because hiring him at first was a big thing, and getting him back for the expansion, and on top of that having him have as many lines as he has, I think is impressive. And I think he got better in Phantom Liberty, but you know just I'm not sure if he has any background in voice acting other than acting, which it's not the same thing, but I'm assuming he doesn't. And for his first crack at it, I think it's pretty decent. It's kind of hard to to execute and perform like that when it's your first time on such a big scale. You know what I mean? Like Cyberpunk is one of the most popular games, uh, for better or for worse. But like I said, I respect him for getting out there and doing it. You know, but there are some times when I'm like, ooh, that line was a bit rough. But overall, very, very impressed and very happy with everyone's voice acting in Cyberpunk. But what about you? What do you think about Keanu Reeves' voice acting? But before you answer, I'm sorry to cut you off. I apologize. I loved Idris Elba in Phantom Liberty. I think he did a great job. I don't know if Idris Elba has any background in voice acting, but I also think his character is a little bit more easy to portray. Johnny's kind of like over the top and, bombastic. I don't know what the right word is to describe Johnny, but, he is an over the top, larger than life character. Idris Elba's character is more serious. It's not really, you don't really have to get as wild as Keanu does with Johnny. But, sorry to interrupt. What do you think about Keanu Reeves and his portrayal of Johnny? Yeah, that's fair. I get you. Okay, I'm almost done. The one last thing I wanted to talk about was the gameplay. Like I said, I do enjoy the gameplay of Cyberpunk. I think there are a ton of different and fun ways to play the game. Like the first time I played, it was just like a gunslinger build where I was just, like a generic first-person shooter. Just used an assault rifle and just kind of blasted enemies. But when you start to like look at the game, especially after the 2.0 update, there are a lot of cool things you can do. Like stealthing is always an option in Cyberpunk, but it's not necessary. I would say it's a little bit more necessary, or not necessary, but a little bit more encouraged in higher difficulties because you're able to take out enemies, quicker and easier, and you can also quick save after you take down an enemy out of combat. But having a stealth option, in a game that, you don't need it, and the stealth is actually pretty good. I mean, you have that thing where it's like, you can be right in front of someone and they don't see you, but that's besides the point. A lot of the stealth stuff is cool that you can do, like hacking cameras to turn them off, or, use the cameras yourself to, like, locate and ping enemies. Like throwing a knife at their eyes and blinding them, or, hacking the enemy to lose their eyesight so you can sneak around them, that kind of stuff I think is really cool. I played a Sandevistan melee build my last playthrough, which was insanely fun. Just slowing down time, like David from Edge Runners. I don't know if you watched the anime for Cyberpunk. Thought that was pretty cool. That was pretty good. That's kind of like a breakneck speed in terms of story, but that's the one complaint I have. Okay, sorry, for a different time. But that build was really fun. And then now I'm doing like a weapon throwing build. So I'm using the Sandevistan again. But, using throwing weapons this time. And then you can also use a net running build, which I used like my third playthrough, I think it was. Just, standing from afar and hacking them, giving them, contagion, which is like poison. You can, give them fire or shock. You can make them have cyber psychosis. And you can do a bunch of things with the hacking. And, like I said, there's a bunch of different ways to approach the game. And it kind of keeps it fresh on a new playthrough when you want to change things up. I think it's fun. There's so many ways that you can play. And they're all viable. Which is good, because you definitely need that variety. I think some are better than others, for sure, but I don't think, if you're playing the hardest difficulty, you have to pick this one. I don't think it's like that at all. But what build are you playing, or what build did you play? And would you, switch going into your next playthrough that you're definitely going to do and you're definitely going to show me? Okay, very nice. Alright, what about next time? You won't be disappointed. I'm telling you, use the Sandevistan. Kinda takes a little bit at first, but once you get rolling, that shit So fun. Okay, we did it. It's been like 40 minutes. Oh my god. Sorry, I told you. I can just get lost in rambling about things that I like, if you don't stop me. But, yeah, I think I'll let you go. Thank you for humoring me for all this time. I don't know how you didn't fall asleep to my rambling. And if you ever want to ramble about any other thing or any other game, let me know. We'll see what my next thing I'll ramble about is. And, I'm sure I'll see you online soon as my power comes back. But, again, thanks for humoring me. And, I guess, have a good night.